Hi guys, good morning. It's your Sir Kevin O again. Today we'll be talking about accounting for income taxes. More particularly, we will be talking about how we can compute taxable income, the classification of differences between taxable, deductible, or permanent, and with respect to these differences, ano po yung effect nila sa financial income and taxable income. So, deferred taxes, deferred tax asset, deferred tax liab, taxable income. We'll be talking about all of those in general and some explanations on the implications of these items. So, without further ado, guys, let me start discussing to you this problem, with which, of course, and always, we start with requirements. So, for this problem, we have as requirement the three: compute taxable income, deferred tax liability, and deferred tax asset. Should be simple enough. Well, I say that loosely. There is nothing simple when it comes to taxes. And that's a general rule. Now, on December 31, 2020, the reported pre-tax financial income of Carson Company is $650,000 and the current income tax is 30%, assuming the following differences between financial income and taxable income for the year. So, these items of 1 to 13 are our financial and taxable differences. 1 to 13. Also, I took the liberty of inserting earnings before tax right on top because we are computing taxable income. And with respect to that, the problem mentioned that it's 650,000. So let me just key that in here. 650,000, and let's get to analysis. Item number 1. Fines paid for late payment of taxes. As you may have read in our notes, fines paid for late taxes is part of DIT, DIIT, or the list of examples commonly known as permanent differences. And at that, ano po ang nangyari? Fines paid for late payment of taxes, you recorded it as a deduction in arriving at earnings before tax. So, ang effect neto in our financial income is we deducted it in arriving at our financial income. And it's a permanent difference. Why? Because this deduction, it will never be included in taxation. It has zero effect in taxation. It's a permanent difference because, again, in your earnings before tax, yes, it's part of your expenses. But BIR will not allow it to become part of your income tax return. So in short, this deduction to financial income, if we are ever going to compute taxable income, ang kailangan po natin gawin dyan is we need to add it back. Dinidak mo in arriving at 650. Well, we're trying to find taxable income. So, add it back. And for that purpose, this becomes part of permanent differences. I need to tally down permanent differences because maybe later we will be computing as well what is the tax due. Or, yes, what is the tax due and what is the income tax expense. Next, we have gross profit on installment sales. Collections will start in 2021. It is for the amount of 120,000. So 120,000 is your gross profit on this installment sale. This one. Implications. The 120,000 is included in your financial income as an addition. That's how you recorded it because you made a sale in 2020 and its gross profit is 120. So naturally in financial accounting, you will include that as part of your revenues. Or that's already gross profit actually. However, for tax purposes, here is a fundamental principle that you should always remember, a key difference between financial accounting and taxation. In financial accounting, we mostly follow accrual basis of accounting. That is the reason why we already recorded the 120,000 in our financial statements. Kasi po, accrual basis. Kahit wala pang collection, despite the collection, basta nangyari na ang transaction, meron na tayong income. So itong income na to, sinama natin sa financial. Financial, accrual. On the other hand, taxation. In taxation, we follow the principle of modified cash basis of accounting. What does that mean? And what is its implication towards this item number 2? Kapag modified cash basis po, in taxation, you will record revenues or you will record profit when collections happen and not when the transactions happen. Anong sabi? Gross profit on installment sales, collections will start in 2021. That means that for 2020, so the effect to income of 2020, in 2020 taxation, the 120,000 is not recognized. It is not recorded. Bakit? Kasi ang 120,000 magiging income po sa taxation kung makolekt na siya. Well, if the collection starts in 2021, then a portion of the 120,000 will be part of taxable income in 2021. Tapos kung may collection sa 2022, magkakaroon din ng taxable income in 2022. So ito po ang scenario. Let me cut the story short. Nag-record ka ng income ngayon, pero yung income na yan hindi ka pa itatax. So, on the taxpayer side, medyo masaya ka kasi, yay, nagkaroon ako ng income pero walang tax. Pero merong but. There's a catch. Okay? Hindi ka pa itatax ngayon. Pero, itatax ka later kapag makolekt mo na ang installment sales na to. When does that happen? In 2021, itatax ka. So ano mangyayari? In 2021, wala ka ng gross profit income, pero meron kang tax liability. That is the reason why the gross profit on installment sales will become a future taxable amount which results to a liability and expense. Did you get that? Fitale. 120,000 is a future taxable amount which will result in a future liability and expense. Oo nga, may income ka ngayon, hindi siya taxable, pero later, magbabayad ka ng tax kahit wala ka ng mare-record na income sa earnings before tax mo. So ano mangyayari dito? Ang 120,000 po, in arriving at your taxable income, it will be deducted. Why? Because it's not yet taxable for 2020. It will be taxable in 2021 though. Which is why it becomes part of your future taxable amount. It's a future taxable amount. Kasi hindi siya tinax ngayon, itatax siya later. Idideduct natin from earnings before tax kasi inad mo yan to begin with. Naging part siya ng 650 when in fact it should not be when we are computing taxable. Zero dapat ang addition sa taxable. Now, I hope that went through with your cognition. Number 3, unearned rent for 2021. It's a rent for 2021, collected in 2020. O eto, you recorded unearned rent, a liability. Right? It is collected in 2020 already. What's the fundamental principle again? In financial accounting, that's not yet an income because we follow accrual basis of accounting. If it's rent for 2021, then it should be income of 2021, right? Despite the fact na kinolekt na natin siya. This is a deferred income. And for all deferred income, they are not part of your financial income. Hindi natin to inad sa financial income. So, zero ang effect natin sa financial. However, since it was already collected in 2020, pag tinanong mo si BIR kung income ba yan o hindi, ang sasabihin sa'yo, opo, part yan ng taxable income mo kasi na-receive mo na ang payment. Kasi ano ulit? Taxable income will follow mostly cash basis accounting. Kasi nakaano sila? Modified cash basis of accounting. So that's it for your unearned rent of 2021. We classify that one now as ano ngayon? Sige. Let's make an analysis. Is it a future taxable amount or future deductible amount? Or is it permanent difference? Well, I will be ruling out permanent difference for you. Why? Permanent difference included in one, not included in another. This is a temporary difference kasi income siya in taxation in 2020. Pero magiging income natin siya sa financial accounting in 2021. Am I right? Kasi ma-earn natin siya in 2021. That's a temporary difference. The recognition of income is merely a matter of timing. Pero, the problem now is it a future taxable amount or a future deductible amount? Between the two, ito po ang kailangan mo tandaan. Deciding whether future taxable amount or future deductible amount, we have two ways of doing that. There is the balance sheet approach and there is the income statement approach. To which, for starters or for beginners in studying this, I would suggest i-follow mo muna yung income statement approach. And that is, i-compare mo ngayon ang item na to. Ano ba ang effect niya sa financial and taxable income? An item is a future taxable amount if it results to your earnings before tax being greater than your taxable income. And an item will be a future deductible amount if temporarily it will result to your earnings before tax being lesser than your taxable income. This is the income statement approach, looking at the effect to taxable and financial income. Now, let me rewind back to item number 2. The effect to income of item number 2 is 120 additional to financial and then nothing is added to taxable. So, ano ang naging result niyan? Ang naging result po neto is financial income will be greater than taxable income kasi may inad ka sa financial, meanwhile in taxable walang nangyari. So, earnings before tax greater than taxable income, right? Kaya po, naging fetale si number 2. Si number 3. Ang nangyari po sa number 3 is that you did not recognize an income for financial accounting. However, for taxation, mag-a-add tayo ng 30,000 in 2020. That situation is pertaining to earnings before tax being lower than taxable income. Ang magiging effect ng isang transaction na to, it will cause EBT to be lower than taxable income. Kaya po, treatment is the 30,000 is going to be a future deductible amount. Future deductible amount ng 30,000. But in computation of your taxable income, ano ang kailangan natin gawin? If you're computing taxable income, you will have to add the 30,000. Kasi po, itong 30,000 na to, hindi siya nasama sa 650. Kasi 650 is financial accounting income, di ba? Sa financial accounting, hindi income tong 30,000 na to. That's the reason why we need to add it. Kasi it was not yet added to begin with in our earnings before tax. Kailangan mo siya i-add kasi taxable income po ang kinocompute dito. Let's speed this up a little bit. Rent income, accrued rent income, 20,000 was recorded in 2020. Effect to financial income, accrued income siya. So you added 20,000 here. But it's accrued income, meaning there is no collection yet, which is why in taxation, there is nothing added. effect, that will be financial income greater than taxable income, right? So itong 20,000 na to, it will be a future taxable amount. I will automatically put this as a deduction here because I know future taxable amount is, yes, a deduction here. Why? Sige, short explanation. Si 20,000 i-deduct natin kasi sa financial accounting, sinama mo siya as income dito, di ba? Pero wala pang collection. Sa taxation, walang effect yan. So, ang kailangan gawin, i-deduct. Nasama, pero hindi dapat kasi taxable income ang kinocompute dito. Okay? 20,000, deduction. Income yan. Eto, another accrual, pero it is related to an expense. Accrued advertising expense. So, ano nangyari dito? Accrued advertising expense. The effect is, this accrued advertising expense, it was deducted in arriving at your financial income because it's an expense. You recorded it as an expense and your income will be reduced by it. Pero, in terms of taxation, that accrued expense will not have an effect. Kasi po, hindi pa nabayaran. Accrued pa lang, hindi pa siya paid. Remember this, for accruals, they have no effect on taxation income. But they are already recorded for financial income. Accruals are temporary differences because the payment and the recognition of the expense or income simply a matter of timing difference lang between financial and taxable. Sa accrual, nauuna ang recognition ni earnings before tax. Nahuhuli yung payment. Okay? So yung 10,000, it is a reduction to your financial income. And what's the effect to your financial income and taxable income? If I'm looking only at this item, the effect will be, this one will cause my financial income to be lower than taxable income, right? Financial income is lower than taxable income kasi may i-deduct ako sa financial, pero sa tax, wala akong i-deduct. That means, this is a future deductible amount. Hindi mo siya marirecognize as taxation deduction for 2020, pero in 2021 or in a future year, you can claim it as a deduction when you already pay for the advertising. So the 10,000 is a future deductible amount which will result to an asset benefit. In computation of your taxable income, it is a deduction or addition. So let's make the analysis. May dineduct ka sa financial, pero hindi mo yun dapat dineduct if we are computing taxable. Something was deducted here that should not have been. So what do? You add it back. Rekta na tayo sa number 6. Prepaid utilities of 5,000. Prepaid utilities meaning binayaran mo na ang isang expense pero hindi pa siya recorded sa earnings before tax because it's prepaid. It's not yet incurred. Kumbaga advance payment ng utilities. Sa financial accounting income mo, walang effect yan kasi ang entry mo dyan is a debit to prepaid utilities and a credit to cash. Pero when it comes to taxable income, it is already a deduction of 5,000. Wala kang dineduct pero pagdating sa taxable, dapat i-deduct natin siya ng 5,000. That means, logic, hindi pa nasama sa 650 ang 5,000 na to. So, kailangan natin siya isama. In terms of effect, it is negative because you have to deduct it. So, ano nangyari dito? Looking at this item only, the effect to income is wala kang dineduct sa financial, pero meron kang dapat i-deduct sa taxable. This item will result to financial income being higher than taxable income. Kasi look at that, 0 and negative 5,000. Financial higher than taxable. That means this is a future taxable amount. So that's it for accruals and deferrals. Itong apat na to, they are accruals and deferrals. Do take note that taxation is governed mostly by cash basis, while in your financial accounting, we lean forward and we follow religiously, yung accrual basis of accounting. Nagkakaroon po ng temporary difference sa accruals and deferrals. Punta tayo sa number 7. This one is an easy one. It's part of the insurance policies. Dividends, interest, insurance, and tax. Sa insurance po, magiging part siya ng permanent difference is the beneficiary if the beneficiary named is the company itself. I forgot to rename the company here, but pardon that, guys. Let's just say is the company. Beneficiary named in the policy is the company. Premium paid on life insurance policy of officer, 200,000. Beneficiary named is in the policy is the company. If naka-beneficiary siya sa company natin, it is considered as a non-deductible expense in our tax laws. Hindi po natin siya pwede maklaim as a deduction in our tax. So, effect natin sa taxation is wala dapat. Pero ang naging impact niya in terms of your financial income is nasama po natin ang 200,000 na to sa ating expenses. Okay. Can I alter the given a little bit kasi that is too much for premiums. Let's just say it's 20,000. Sorry about that. A quick alteration so that we don't see any irregularities. Sabihin natin 20,000 ang binayaran. Nagbayad ka ng premium for insurance policy of an officer. Your entry to that is a debit to insurance expense and a credit cash. Pero for taxation, it will never be part of deductions or expenses in taxation. It's a deduction when it comes to financial accounting, but it is not recognized in tax now or later. It is a part of income and expense that will never be reversed. So, that is something that we should consider to be a permanent difference. And at that, this permanent difference needs to be added back. Kasi nagdeduct ka ng expense pero hindi naman siya dapat kasali sa deductions. It's added back and it's part of permanent difference as an addition. Excess of warranty expense over actual expenditure. Ito po, a difference between accrual accounting and cash basis again. Kasi ang binayaran mo daw na expenditure is lower than what you recorded as warranty expense. So your warranty expense is 28,000 greater than the actual warranties na binayaran mo. Okay? So ano nangyari dito? Mas mataas ang expense na na-recognize mo. Gaano kataas? Mas mataas ng 28,000. Meanwhile, I don't know the exact amount for tax pero it's lower by 28,000. So sabihin na lang natin zero ang effect dito pero may excess na 28,000 dito. But if I would put this into perspective, kung sabihin natin ang warranty expense, for example lang, is 128,000. Assumption lang to kasi hindi ko alam kung magkano talaga ang warranty expense. Pero ang nangyari, ganito po. Ang warranty expense in your financial accounting is 128. Meanwhile, in taxation, ang nabayaran mo lang na warranties is equal only to 100,000. As an example, that is excess warranty expense. Magkano ang sobra? 28,000. Pero again, this is just an assumption. Okay? Actually, what I can do here is just say 28,000 dito negative and then 0 na lang dito para wala na tayong assume. Kasi hindi naman kasi binigay yung warranty expense and actual expenditure. And with that, guys, ano nangyari? Mas mataas ang expense na na-record mo in financial kaysa sa taxable. What you need to do with that if you are computing taxable income is you have to add it back. Look at the situation. Ano mangyayari dito? Itong dalawang to. Financial income and taxable income. Taxable income will be greater than financial, di ba? Or, in other words, your financial income is lower than taxable. That means that this one is a future deductible amount. That becomes part of FIDAAB. Number 9, excess of estimated uncollectible account for financial reporting over accounts actually written off. This one follows the same logic as number 8. Sobra po ang allowance na na-set up mo for uncollectible account kaysa sa actual write-off mo. For tax purposes, you can only claim as a deduction yung actual write-off. Pero, in financial accounting, ang na-treat mo as expense is the doubtful accounts allowance. Which is, ang sabi dito sa problem, doubtful accounts allowance was greater by 12,000. So, ang nangyari po, meron kang na-deduct na sobra ng 12,000 sa financial accounting mo. Whereas for taxable, you only have an amount lower by 12,000. So again, as a matter of assumption, I can say, siguro sa financial accounting, 112,000. Sabihin na lang natin, assumption. If 112,000 ang na-recognize natin na allowance, ang actual write-off is only equal to 100,000. This illustration shows na meron tayo excess estimated uncollectible account na 12,000. Sobra si uncollectible account. Sobra ang na-deduct sa financial kesa sa actual na pwede i-recognize sa taxation. But then again, if the problem is like that, I don't want to make additional assumptions. So let's just say this is 12,000 and this is 0 here. Kasi that is their net effect to taxation and financial accounting. And again, it will follow the same logic as number 8. 12,000 added back here. And then it will be part of FIDAAB as 12,000 here. Next, excess of actual inventory loss over allowance. Ito kabaliktaran. Mas mataas daw ang write-off mo sa inventory kesa sa actual allowance for inventory write-down. So what you will do here is baliktad lang. Ang na-recognize mo na expense is lower by 15,000 over tax. So ang nasama mo na deduction dito, kulang pa ang na-deduct mo. Okay? Kulang pa ang na-deduct mo. Magkano ang kulang? 15,000. Kasi sa taxation, dapat magbawas ka pa daw ng additional na 15,000. Okay? So ang effect niya, kasi magbabawas ka pa ng additional na 15,000, edi ibawas mo. Kasi you are computing taxable income. You should deduct it from 650,000 kasi it was not yet deducted. When in fact, it should be deducted. That is at least for taxation. And the 15,000 will be part of your future taxable amount. Future taxable amount siya. Bakit? Kasi when the time comes na mag-record ka na ng allowance ulit, wala ka nang madideduct na expense. Kasi nasama na siya sa taxable income ngayon. I don't know if you follow that, guys, pero if you have a question, we can talk about this one directly. You can just message me. So let me finish this real quick. 11, 12, and 13. Equipment excess tax depreciation over book depreciation. Mas mataas daw ang depreciation sa tax. How much? 30,000 ang sobra. So, excess tax depreciation, ang mangyayari dito, mas mataas. Saan mas mataas? Financial. Mas mataas ang financial income kesa sa taxable income kasi may i-deduct ka for tax purposes. And since mas mataas ang tax purposes na depreciation mo, kailangan mo din dagdagan ang depreciation when it comes to your computation for taxable income. So itong negative 30,000 na to, it is additional depreciation. Because what you recorded in arriving at 650 is lesser than that. Additional tax depreciation to. Kabaliktaran naman po si number 12 kasi building excess book depreciation. Ibig sabihin, in your financial accounting, mas mataas po ang nadidak mo na tax. Ay, na depreciation. Magkano ang mas mataas na nadidak mo? 50,000. Okay? Mas mataas ang nadidak mo na depreciation kaysa sa allowable ng BIR. That means, kailangan mo siya i-add back in terms of taxation. Okay, I missed two classifications up here. Itong 30,000, it is a future taxable amount. Why? Kasi po, in the future, you will record depreciation expense. Pero for taxation, that future depreciation expense is no longer existing kasi it is already expense for this year. So kumbaga, deduction na siya ngayon. Hindi ka na itatax for 30,000 ngayon. Pero later, wala ka ng deduction for this 30,000. Again, I'm not quite sure if that makes sense to you. But then again, talk to me. Message me. Kabaliktaran si 50,000. Which means it is also kabaliktaran ang treatment. Last, dividend income. Part siya ng diit. Permanent difference, si dividend income, it's an income. You added it to your taxable income. Pero, for taxation purposes, dividend income is subject to final percentage taxes. It is not subject to income tax. And then again, this statement is something that will require you some knowledge in taxation. So, message me if you'd like some clarifications to this. Pero ang kailangan mo lang malaman ngayon, hindi siya kasama sa taxable for income taxation. Hindi siya kasama. Pero nasama mo siya sa 650. It is something that I must deduct from my income. And at that, it is a permanent difference. It is an income that will never be added to my income in taxation. So, the effect is you added financial income that should not have been added for taxation. Kaya po, dinidak natin siya dito. All in all, if we sum it up, ang makukuha po natin na amount dito will be equal to our taxable income of 585,000. Yan na ang taxable income mo. And if we would multiply that with our tax rate na 30%, makukuha po natin magkano ang tax payable, ang current tax expense. Okay? So si taxable income, 585. Ay, sorry. Kopyahin na lang natin. Diyan. Deferred tax liab. Deferred tax liability naman, kailangan muna kunin natin magkano yung total neto. Future taxable amount that results to deferred tax liab. So ano ang sum nito? Yan po. 19,000. Gawin natin siyang accounting. Ay, 19,000 tuloy. 190,000 negative pala. So deferred tax liab is simply the future taxable amount multiplied by 30%. So that's 190,000. Imumultiply lang natin yan by 30%. Which is 57,000 in our case. Tapos sa deferred tax asset naman, kung tatanungin tayo, that is equal to the future deductible amount, ito siya, multiplied by our tax rate of 30%. Which is 39,000. Additional requirement. Kung tatanungin ka, magkano ang income tax expense? Ano sagot mo? Income tax expense is equal to income subject to tax multiplied by the tax rate. Your income subject to tax is Earnings before tax minus permanent differences. Plus or minus permanent differences. So if I'm going to sum up, magkano yung permanent differences natin? Ito yon. Yan po. So merong negative 5,000 na net permanent differences. Tapos magkano ulit yung earnings before tax? Earnings before tax is 650,000 as given above. Ito po, 650,000. So kung tatanungin ka magkano yung income tax expense, kailangan mo kunin to. Difference between permanent differences and earnings before tax. The amount you will get is the earnings subject to tax, 645. Income subject to tax multiplied by 30%. That should be your income tax expense. Last, what is the current tax expense? Current tax expense is simply taxable income, this one, 585, multiplied by, again, your tax rate of 30%. 175,500. Okay. Saglit. Teka. Okay. Okay, what I did, guys, is eto. Let me illustrate one more thing for you. Your income tax expense is actually comprised of current tax expense plus and minus deferred taxes. Okay, income tax expense. Itong 193,500 na to, it is comprised of the current tax plus deferred tax liab minus deferred tax asset. Okay? So, kung i-compute natin yan, kung tama ba, let's check if we did the problem correctly. It would go like this. 193,500 is comprised of the current tax expense of 175,500 plus if there is deferred tax liab and then minus deferred tax asset. Well, naka-negative na yung deferred tax asset natin, so i-plus ko na lang. Let me alter it a little para maging consistent ang formula natin. Wag na siya natin i-negative. Positive na lang lahat. Pero alam nyo ang effect neto sa income tax expense. Income tax expense, 193,500 plus deferred tax liab minus deferred tax asset. That is your income tax expense. Hala, naloko na. Ito plus ito minus yan. Nagkamali yung formula ko kanina, guys. Sorry. 193,500 components. Yan po. Okay, that was quite a long discussion, but I hope somewhere may explanation ako na nakatulong sa inyo. For more, if any questions should arise, guys, contact me, and of course, we can always talk about the problems and situations that you encounter in solving deferred taxes. I know this is topsy-turvy, pero guys, again, contact me na lang if you have more problems. I'll be happy to address them. If there is nothing else, guys, thank you for watching this lecture, and I will see you again in another discussion video. Bye and have a great day.